So hello everyone, welcome to a YouTube video. You join me here actually in the Lake District here in the UK. Claire has packed me away to go and relax in the camper van for a few days, and she has also made me go and do some walking up and down some big frickin' hills, which is what I've been doing. However, of course, still need to work, still need to keep on top of things, and I'm going to show you a couple of updates here to the IPS Toolkit, and just juggling lots of different things, so trying to keep on top of keeping you up to date here on YouTube. And best thing to do, to be honest, is I post probably a little bit more on LinkedIn, so follow me on LinkedIn and you'll see kind of more regular frequent updates on what's going on. Anyway, what have I done inside the IPS Toolkit? The IPS Toolkit now, not only have I added some TDW only features, which is things like how I can redact the tool, but also how I can build some capability into the tool for me to be able to speed up the production. Now, I've had loads of questions around the IPS Toolkit, who it's for, what versions of the specifications does it support anything other than S series, etc, etc. I am going to do a kind of 10-15 questions that I've been asked around the IPS Toolkit, because I've had questions from the vendor community as well, and they have sent in some questions to me about how can they integrate the output from this tool into their tool. Now, the vision of this tool, one of the principles behind developing it, was to have neutral outputs. So then I don't particularly care which CSDB you use, I don't care which editing environment you use, etc. This tool is very much about how we set up, govern, control, visualize our S1000D type projects, our 2000M projects, our 6000T is in here now. I'll maybe show you some of that as well. But how do we do all of these things in a visual way at a governance layer that makes sense to us, our organizations, and our projects? So let's talk a little bit about some of the features that have been added since the last time I have done an update for you here on YouTube. First thing you'll see here is that we have something called the Global Governance Hub. I couldn't come up with a really catchy name for it. And the S1000D tools. And just to tuck off a couple of things, you know, I've now added in here some tools for 3000L. I'm going to do some videos on that later on. And 6000T is now also in here, and the reason why I'm not going to go too deep into those, because there's one of these redacted areas we need to use to trigger some of those processes, and we're going to do that in a future video at some point. Anyway, what I want to do is let's focus on here the Global Governance Hub. Let me talk to you about what the Global Governance Hub is. Traditionally, software vendors are very project focused, okay, and that's by design, and that's by market asking for that or looking for that, or following pretty much what S1000D is, you know, doing with focusing on the project. And you know, the S series, you know, product, we're focusing on that level. However, that's fine if you are doing one S1000D project, one 2000M, one IPS program, and that's absolutely fine, and that might work for your organizations. However, but the organizations that I support right at government level and Department of Defense level, all the way down through into the supply chain, and that is not the reality. I'm doing a video shortly on specification theory versus application reality or project reality, and why, you know, invariably most of the organizations I go into will say, yeah, but that's what the specification says, that's not how we work. And you know, so one of the things that I was thinking of is whilst all of these, but one of the questions I got asked was, is the IPS Toolkit another CSDB? No, it's not designed to be another CSDB. Could it be a CSDB? Absolutely, if I wanted it to be. It's not designed to be a CSDB. Why? Because there are plenty of good CSDB vendors out there, common source database vendors out there. And what it is an overarching governance tool. So how do we set up, configure, visualize, and future-proof and audit trail our IPS programs? And that's the emphasis, that's the focus. So that's where Global Governance Hub comes in. So imagine you are a Department of Defense or a national defense organization. You are not focusing on one project. You are using these specifications to control several projects and programs, and they could be several hundred, it could be tens, depending on the size of the department that you are working in. Now, the problem with that is, we already know, the US military has guidance on how they want to do S1000D. We have the German Bundeswehr. They have guidance on how they want to do S1000D. The UK Ministry of Defence has guidance on how they want to do IPS or ILS, whatever they want to call it. And, we have the Dutch MOD. And I can go on and on and on. Canada has recently released sight into their business rules and how they want to work with specifications. That's corporate level. That's way above just individual projects. Now, of course, in our specifications today, we talk about layering of business rules and how we should nest them and how we should respect layers of business rules, etc. And many CSDB vendors today or IPS software tools today, they still think at the project level, which is fine if that's what your customers want. But the people I'm supporting are supporting several projects across lots of different domains. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I go into the Governance Hub, and hopefully you can see this okay, hopefully this setup is working well for you. And one thing I did do is I've left my other glasses at home, so the screen is a little bit of a blur, so I'm flying by wire here at the moment. So here I could, at the highest level, I could say that I am, let's just say I am TD double National Defence, and whatever your defence spelling is, I'm not going to get into that. And U1 JT7 is me, and yeah, you know how emails and names etc. work. You don't need me to go through all of that. Now, what here I might do here is I could say global rules for land systems. Okay, and I'm just going to make up any old nonsense here, and I could say that I am, I'm drafting this at the moment. So now what I'm doing is I'm setting a template. I'm setting a baseline here for me to create global rules. In this particular case, for my, did I say land systems? I said land systems. So, and now here you can see that we have lots of different handbooks. We have lots of different style guides. We have lots of different guidance that's available to us at the moment. So from a UK perspective, Def Stan 00600 or 601, and I can click on this. I could say, right, I'm going to do S1000D, 2000M, 3000, and 6000. And if this is what we're going to do for our particular projects, and I can say which domains I'm working in. So for me, it's land domain here. I'm helping a client right now look at how we can use S1000D for cyber, for the cyber domain at the moment. And here, as I scroll down, you can see that it shows me the issues of the specifications that are currently installed with the tool. And I haven't uploaded any of the schema packs or anything yet, apart from issue 4.2 of S1000D. And I know that some of the stuff I've talked about only asks for 4.1. You're just going to have to use creative license here. One of the questions I was asked was, could you show it on a Windows machine? This is a Windows machine. It's a new machine that I can't remember what model it is, but it's one that I've just ordered because somebody was saying, well, you're showing it on a Mac. Can you show it on Windows? This is now on Windows. So imagine, that I want to do DefStan 00601 LAN systems. Okay, guidance for S1000D on LAN systems. I can now create this hub. And this hub, now you can see that we have tabs for each of the specifications, and for the issue of the specification that I've selected, the types of specifications I've selected as well. Now, of course, not one person is going to be creating the tech pubs, the 2000 to 3000, etc. Guidance for our program. So what we can do is we can allocate parts of this governance layer to different authorities and then centralize them here inside this hub. So this hub, then I keep picking on the UK Ministry of Defence because they have some pretty well defined rules, is then now we have a centralized hub that we can use in other areas of our tooling here, or inside our governance structures at the project level. So then now we're setting up the globals, and now we can go down into the to the project level. So now we can use this hierarchy or layering of our ruling. Okay, so if 2000, 3000, 6000 is here, it's telling me to go and upload a package manager that you would get from my website, etc. And in S1000D now, here you can see that if I was the authority for creating global business rules for, and by the way, it doesn't have to be one domain. I could have selected it for all domains. So then it puts it a next higher level as well. And here you can see that it's telling me that I've come in through this route. So, I can't make any changes here. But now it's telling me at this level, I can start creating those high level governance requirements in here that I might need to do. So I'm just gonna drag anything over because again my glasses are not great here. So and you can see now we can start defining what we want at the high level. So that means now what are we doing? We're creating our rules in a methodical way, we're doing it in a governed way, and we're doing it in a process driven way, we're doing it in a future proof way. And now we can then extract a package from here and give that to maybe the next road vehicle that's coming on. Say, here's your starting business rules. And that's where the next part of the tool comes in. So if I go into S1000D tools here now, so imagine we've done all of that configuration and all of that wonderful gubbins that we want to do. We can go into S1000D governance. So now we're at the traditional CSDB level, and we can say we're going to create a new project. 4.2 I've got a package installed here. I'll create a new one. Don't worry about all the testing ones here. So here I can say we're going to have a new land vehicle project. Again, SUSATs are, and we're going to go U1 JT7, and I can create, what am I missing? All right, I'm going to just throw an extra 7 on there because I already created a project with my cage code. And now I'm at the project level. So we've done the high level governance level. Now what I can do is in here, I can connect to the global rules for land systems. And now I'm connecting my project to the governance layer, the higher governance layer, which means that what that will do is it will actually ask me if I want to link and pull that data in. I didn't do much on the other side, so I'm not going to do it. And what that will do is it will populate my project immediately from all of those global settings, and it will put inside my BRDPs here what's used, what's not used, and the way that we can be working with the tool in a way that's much more connected, much more visual. I'm going to show you visual in a moment, and why this works in a much better, much more process driven way. So now we have this connection, this dynamic link, that if the global rules changed, and if we had a dynamic link, we're not going to talk about that here on this particular video, but if the authority issues some new rules, the rules can be imported into, I think I've got it here. So yeah, here we can now import. If we had a dynamic link, it would automatically read to see if the rules have updated from the global, from the governance layer. And or if I'm working in an isolated environment, the authority can issue these packages, and it will give me an impact analysis, a media impact assessment, saying all of these rules have changed. You need to validate whether you want to, or verify whether you want to upgrade, change, or implement these rules. Why is that important? That's important today because the traditional way of working is we have all of these high-level business rules, which is fine, and people put a tremendous amount of effort and energy into those rules, and that's absolutely fine. However, we may at some point update those rules. Recently, there was a new issue came out to the S1000D land system business rules at the UK MOD, for example. And, unless you actually have to go through those rules and read them and make sure that they validate against your particular project, they get ignored. And that means what's happening is that we then have these drifts, or we have this disconnect between the governance layer, the high authority layer, and the project layer. And remember, these projects are in service for a very, very long time. So if I go back into the projects here and just open up anything, and I'm hoping I've opened up something that's got a little bit of something a bit more exciting in here. Now we are in the project layer. And so the first thing that's changed in the tool is that we have the high level corporate governance hub, and then now inside each of these individual 1000, 2000, 3000, etc., we now have dashboards like this, which means that we can import and connect from that governance layer, and we can create tools we've got tools that help us create the business rules in a much more meaningful way. Now, so what else has changed in the tool? So now we're at the project level. Okay, we're down at the project level, and a lot of this I showed you on the previous video, so I'll put the link up wherever it goes on YouTube. And here you can see we now have, if you keep an eye on this area here, you can see that we have these toolbars that are available to us now. So I'm just going to go away from one and come back. You can see that it's enunciating. It's saying that there is a wizard available to us. I'm working my way through all of the wizards, and I'm creating a centralized library of wizards that I can use across not only specifications, because hold that thought, but I'm creating all of these wizards that then help people and projects set up in a much more meaningful way. Why is that important? Well, because I'm trying to find one that's going to be a little bit more useful for us to use here. So here, for example, very simple, you can see that we can set some of our code lengths. And so it will ask us the code lengths that we want to use. Simple things like what kind of deliveries are we going to be accepting on our project, and then what is the frequency of our deliveries, And so now you can see that if I add my deliveries, so if I go in here and I say we're going to have an IETP and we're going to have all of these things that are going to be added to us, and now I can say we're going to have these per publication quarterly. I'm just making stuff up. And so now what you can see is that we can make decisions in a connected way. This is just me playing at the moment. And so you can see that now we can create a rule that may influence how we decide to choose another rule. And that can be, as simple as things like working with model identification codes, which is dead simple. And we can have primary codes and we can have variant codes if we wanted to do that. Here you can see that we also have, the product SNS I've showed you already, assembly codes, how we work with disassembly codes. And now we can do things in a meaningful way. But if we have things like verification, for example, how we're going to work with first and second verification, if we're going to work with first and second verification, we can make our decisions, but most projects think that that's the end of our decision. But a lot of projects, specification theory versus project reality, is that we may want to have some more advanced settings. So we might decide that at a particular level, I'm just going to go anywhere, we might say that this particular, only I could pick a, so we might say that this particular one here also needs second verification because it may be radioactive, it may be nuclear, it may be, whatever your project want might be. So now we can have nested rules within rules, which means that now we can put those into our business rules, which means we can enforce them at the project level. So what else have I put inside here? A lot of this has been redacted because I clearly there's some people that are watching what I'm doing here. And so now here you can see I've put some visualization tools in, and you can, we've got this for data module codes, we've got it for information codes, we've got it for all sorts of different codes. But we've also got gap analysis and all that kind of stuff that we can put inside our visualization here. And here you can see that the XML snippet that's being generated by the tool. Then we have a graphical, what does the code look like? And here, if I just click on anything here, you can see that it's telling me the business rules decision point. So if I had gaps in my decisions, I could come in here and it would tell me where I need to go and where I need to set those particular rules. So now you can see that we have this visualization tool that helps those that are at the governance layer understand what it is that they might not necessarily understand, things like, what this attribute value is for or why this attribute's here, but they need to make a decision and, which other specification that may be coming from, and or how we're going to work hand in glove with 2000M or whatever it might be, the other specifications that we might want to work with. So now we have these visualization tools that we can use that makes it much more useful and meaningful to a project when they are creating their governance rules. And then ultimately we can export this out from the hub. We can send that as an exchange package, and we can either import and export exchange packages, and you can give that to your CSDB vendor and say, here are the business rules that we're working to, here's the layered business rules that we're working to, and they can import that into the CSDB for you. Now, whether they want to do that for you or not is, completely up to them. What else have we added in here? You can see we've started adding some more items into the menu here. So working with things like our priority and severity in terms, so if I go, so I don't know which one I just did, but if I go into attributes here and I find priority, and I can put in here my project priority. The reason why, again, connected decisions. So I asked it to set a priority, but I hadn't told the project that I was going to use some of those attributes. So here now I can start setting things like priority and severity. So here you can see that here this is now a high priority, and you can see we start having these quick access menu items start coming our way. I can go in here and say, right, we're going to create a flag for our particular rule, and whether we're going to put it inside a Brex module or whether we know what that Brex reference is going to be, and I can drop that in here as well, and then I can filter on all of these items. So then now I could give that to my Brex developer and say, you know, this is what we need for a Brex module, and whatever our Brex state, our Brex strategy might be, we can share that with our Brex developer, and they can then create all of those Brex files for us. And we can then come in here, we can add those rules directly into this this decision area. And now we have audit trail, we have traceability, we have decisions that we've made. Here, what else have I added? I have added now a Trello type, not a Trello, sorry, a Evernote type. So I just say I've got a folder here, and I can start adding new notes in here that I can then start adding tags. So, and now I can start creating a kind of history of what it is that we've been building. So I can upload attachments and all those kind of things. So this is where it now will go hand in hand with projects that need to be handed over or future proofed, etc. They can come in here, and so if I've had this project, I've defined it, and now I need to hand it over to somebody else, it's got full visibility here on the decisions that were made, rather than having hundreds of different if you want to do spreadsheets, that's your desire, go do good with spreadsheets. But the idea here is that we're trying to speed up the adoption of these specifications. We're also trying to give us clear visibility on the decisions that we need to make. And we also want to have that traceability, auditability, and future proofing. So what else have I added in here is things like, if I'm at issue 4. I'm a 4.2 on this one. If I decide I'm at issue 4.2 and then I say, hey, I want to upgrade to 6, I can come in here. One of the tools that I have here is forward motion, in terms of, I'm going to upgrade this to 6. What are the new decisions I need to make? What are some of the decisions that I've made that may fall into the cracks? And where do I need to put them in a new program? And then you can take that, you can move it into a conversion process, and you can do whatever you like to do with your conversion process. That being said, I've got 2 clients that are currently upgrading an S1000D project, and they want to use this as their governance layer, as their guidance for everybody on the project, that allows them to, if we like, follow the rules that they need to follow to put inside their new converted project. So that's what I have been working on here. There's another utility I've built, but this is a Windows machine. It'll be on my Mac machine here, which now is a package creator. So when I went in here and I showed you all of these, I'm going to, where I'm allowed or where I'm permitted, I'm going to create predefined packages that we're going to make available. So if you've been asked to do a DefStan 00601 project on Air, you'll be able to download the Air package from our website, install it directly into the hub, and it's done all of the work for you. You don't need to go off and read all of the specification. But this is not a replacement for reading business rules or reading the specification? That's one of the questions I got asked. It's to augment your use of the specifications and speed up the use, rather than having to, navigate through lots of different S1000D issues and spreadsheets and all those kind of things. What else have I added into here since we last chatted here on YouTube? If I go into my S1000D tools again and I go to spec view, you can see now if you export your own project from your CSDB, we can visualize that here inside the tool now, and it will show you all of the connections. So all of your Brex rules, etc., providing we have access to everything in a folder that comes out of your CSDB, we can view that here inside the tool. And so why is that important? Well, you may have a tier 1 that's doing all of the S1000D, 2000M, 3000L type work, 6000T, and they're not going to have, your desk officers are not going to have, which is what desk officer is for, you're not going to have all of these big heavy hitting CSDBs, all of those kind of things. But you might want to, you will want to, you do want to see the data and be able to add comments to it and then send those comments back to whoever supplied it to you. So that's to speed that up. But what have I added inside spec view? This is the one that I'm still toying with. I don't know yet whether this is going to be free or whether this is going to be something that, I'm going to ask a nominal fee for. I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. I've had a few emails in saying, Mike, you'd be crazy to make it available for free. And then there's the other side of me that's saying, I'm passionate about making these specifications more accessible and useful and usable. So, could we do that in a meaningful way? Anyway, I've just come into this particular project here very, very quickly. And what we've added, or what I've added, with the support of Docuneering. And at Docuneering, they've provided an NFR, a not for resale license of their spreadsheets, spreadsheets of their style sheets that we have now put in place with our tools. Now, depending on which issue or version of the tool you're using, this is the free viewing. So free viewing, I don't know yet, where I could create a publication if I wanted to, or create the output if I wanted to. So what's the relationship here? The relationship here is Russell contacted me saying, hey, Mike, like what you're doing with the tool. How about we partner and you put my print style sheets inside the IPS Toolkit, and if anybody wants to buy them, they contact him. So the idea is that you can see the Docuneering spreadsheets in here, and I think at the top here there's a disclaimer, and it talks about they're nothing to do with me, but if you want to discuss the style sheets, you can get in touch with Russell and the team over at Docuneering, and they'll be more than happy to talk to you about their style sheets. Russell and I have been very open and honest with each other. I don't want to tie my technology into just his style sheets, in the same way he doesn't want to tie the use of his style sheets just into my tool. So inside the package manager up here, I can upload Russell's style sheets, Docuneering style sheets, and if you had your own style sheets made, but why would you if Russell already does them, you can upload your own and the tool will pick up your style sheets, and so you'll be able to see the look and feel. Anyway, that's the updates. What else have I been working on since we've last spoken? I'm just trying to see. I don't know if I showed you 3000L, and how do we work with our 3000L tooling, and how do we work down with things like breakdown element wizards. 6000T, again, I'm not sure there's anything in here yet, so it will ask me if you can probably take a guess now at what's inside here, but behind here we've got the ability to import an import and export from a PLM system, and then we can use that to trigger a whole raft of other decisions that we need to make in wider IPS programming, which means then we can start creating some of the other stuff that's down here. How do we start doing the digital thread, the digital twins, all those kind of things? So stay tuned. This tool is what you're seeing here is A, what I'm willing to share on YouTube, but B, this is only the start of what this tool is going to be. Like I say, I've had a whole raft of questions about the tool. I am going to do maybe while I'm here, I think it's going to rain here shortly, so maybe later on this evening I'll do this, the top 10, 15 type questions that I've had around the IPS Toolkit. But there you go, that's an update. If you want to get involved in the beta, I've had a whole load of people. Thank you for those who have registered. I now have my Microsoft signing certificate, which I am super excited about. Problem number 2 is I just got to figure out how to use it, and so it's I believe I've got to do a handshake between my development environment and the signing service, and once that's done, it will automatically sign the installers, which means I can make the installers available, and therefore I can either create my free viewing tool. So for example, this is the global tool, and if I open, we've not looked at Desk Officer this week, but here you can see now we have a Desk Officer tool, which is for those guys and girls who are at the corporate governance layer where they need to see the data that they're getting. I don't think I've created anything in here. No, I haven't. So they can see the data that comes in from the tier ones, etc. Exactly the same code base, exactly the same tooling. It's just now that I've trimmed it down to, so if you go to Desk Officer, for example, all of the features and functions, it's just targeted at those that need to view, verify, and they can look at the like I say here, they've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and say 6,000. And here you can see I'm just creating something really quickly. They can create the project, and now they have their own view. They will import the data that will come in for them, and they can add comments to it and send it back to the tier one. So it's all about how do we make this stuff work in a more meaningful way, a way that doesn't become overburdensome, where then using these specifications just becomes too hard and we revert back to other areas. So that's what I've been working on. That's what I'm doing. I know, let's be honest, there's a few software vendors that have got very nervous about this, and so I'm just going to answer and allay some of those fears in a future video, what we're trying to achieve here. We've got one software vendor that's already integrated our exports, so it spawns a program or project inside their environment. So there you go, you've got it. So from a wonderful Lake District, like I say, I think it's supposed to start. You can feel the van is shaking a little bit because it is getting a little bit windy, but it's been beautiful here today. I walked up to the top of one of I don't know what the hill is, but it was a big one, and there you go. Any questions, get in touch. I will do my best to keep on top of releasing and telling you what these features are and how these features work. And if you want to get involved in the beta, techdataworld.com, have a look at that. Otherwise, next video will probably be talking about how the 10-15 questions that I've had about the tool And yeah, there you go. Enjoy. And if you want more information, touch base with me on LinkedIn, or just follow and keep an eye out when I release the actual formal releases to the wider community. Clearly, I'm not going to talk about pricing and that kind of stuff here, but there you go. I'm proud of it. I think it's great. The feedback I've had from the people that are testing it right now have said it's phenomenal. They can't believe how good the tool is. So there you go. Bye bye now.